You don't know where you are before you open your eyes. The smell tells you first. Disinfectant over something older. Something disinfectant never fully reaches. Metal and concrete, and the particular staleness of air that hasn't moved freely in years. Then the sound. Voices somewhere distant, and beneath them a low mechanical hum that never stops. Because the ventilation system in a maximum security facility runs continuously and becomes the permanent soundtrack of everyone inside it. You open your eyes. The ceiling is 7 feet above you. Concrete, painted the off-white of old teeth. A fluorescent light behind thick wire blinks once, then settles. You are lying on a 3-inch mattress on a metal platform bolted to a wall. You sit up, 8 feet by 10 feet, a steel toilet with no lid, a sink, a desk the size of a cutting board, a door made of bars that lets you see and be seen at all times. Outside the bars, a corridor. Across the corridor, more bars, more rooms exactly like this one. You are in a cell, in a maximum security prison, and you have no idea how you got here. 24 hours ago, you were somewhere else entirely. Your brain keeps returning to this, not with panic, not yet, but with the repetition of someone checking their pockets for a phone they know isn't there. You had a life. You had routines. There were people who expected to see you today. Then something happened. A misidentification. A set of circumstances so specific that the legal system processed you through its machinery before anyone thought to stop and check whether the machinery had the right person. It happens. Not often. But the National Registry of Exonerations has recorded over 3,000 formal exonerations in the United States since 1989. And those are only the cases where someone eventually found a way out. You don't know any of that yet. What you know is the ceiling, and the smell, and the sound of boots on concrete getting closer. Stand up, hands. You stand. You put your hands through the slot in the bars without being told twice. Because something in the guard's voice makes clear that being told twice would be a different kind of morning. Cold metal closes around your wrists. The door opens. Your first full day inside has begun. They process you again, or process you for what feels like the first time, though clearly something already happened while you were in no condition to absorb it. Photographs, fingerprints, a medical intake delivered in under 90 seconds. Your clothes go into a sealed property bag. In their place, a uniform the color of faded slate, canvas shoes, a thin blanket, a toothbrush, a bar of soap, and one pre-stamped envelope. That detail breaks through everything else. One envelope for writing to someone outside. The implication is quiet and devastating. They give you one because they know you're going to need it. The systems around you are built for permanence. The mattress, the shoes, the envelope. None of it is designed for a short stay. The cell door closes behind you. The sound it makes, a mechanical lock engaging with a weight no door outside these walls ever has, is something people describe years later as the sound they still hear in dreams. You sit on the edge of the mattress. Nobody is coming to fix this today. The first rule of maximum security is one nobody tells you. Not the guards, not the intake staff, not the orientation pamphlet that exists in theory, and that you will never see. The rule is this: information is currency, silence is armor, and every interaction in the first 72 hours is being read by people who have been living in this environment far longer than you. You learn this at lunch. The cafeteria is louder, brighter, and more rigidly structured than you expected. Tables are not random. Seating is not open. There is a social architecture to this room built over years, and you have just walked into it completely blind. You sit in the wrong place. Nothing happens immediately, but you see it. The slight pause, the glance, the recalibration in someone's eyes as they assess whether you're ignorant or provocative. In a maximum security environment, those two things carry almost identical risk. A man sits across from you. No introduction. Eyes down. That seat belongs to someone. Move left. You move left. That is your first lesson. And you understand, sitting one seat over, that this place operates on a parallel set of rules. Rules with consequences that are immediate, physical, and completely outside the jurisdiction of any policy manual ever written. Over the following days, you learn more. Time here does not move the way time moves outside. The day divides into controlled segments, meals, counts, yard, lockdown. Within those segments, minutes behave strangely. Some stretch, some disappear. The counting of time becomes an obsession for almost everyone, because time is the one thing that cannot be taken, only endured. The count is the most important event of every day. Multiple times daily, every person inside must be physically visible and verified. Everything stops. Count is the skeleton around which all life here is arranged. A reminder, several times a day, that the purpose of this place is containment. And the noise never stops. Not the hum, not the voices, not the institutional sounds of a building holding human beings in controlled proximity for years at a time. What some people eventually call silence is just a version of the noise that stops registering consciously. You are not there yet. Every sound still reaches you. Every sound still lands. Here is what the architecture of a maximum security prison is designed to do, and why it works on the human mind in ways that have nothing to do with physical force. The philosophy behind modern maximum security design descends from a concept called the panopticon, proposed by the philosopher Jeremy Bentham in the 18th century. A single central tower from which every cell could theoretically be observed at any moment. The key insight wasn't the observation itself. It was that prisoners who believed they might be watched at any moment would begin regulating their own behavior as if they were always watched, even when they weren't. Modern facilities operate on a refined version of the same principle. Camera coverage is extensive, but not total. What is total is the awareness of cameras. The uncertainty of which moment is observed and which isn't is psychologically more powerful than guaranteed surveillance, because it internalizes the guard function into the mind of the person being held. You become your own monitor. Within 30 days, research on incarceration psychology shows most new arrivals exhibit what researchers call institutional adaptation, a reorganization of behavior, cognition, and emotion around a different set of survival priorities. Hypervigilance, reduced emotional expression, difficulty projecting into the future, because the future here is uncertain and outside individual control. Some adaptations protect you in the short term. Nearly all damage you in the long term. There is a specific phenomenon called the concrete mindset, the gradual narrowing of mental horizon to the immediate and physical. It begins as a survival mechanism and calcifies into a way of seeing that does not automatically reverse when the walls come down. People released after years inside consistently report that the hardest part of freedom isn't finding housing or work. It's relearning how to exist in a world where no one makes your decisions every 75 minutes. Around the end of the second week, you stop waiting for someone to come. Not because you've given up, but because you've begun to understand something you couldn't have understood from the outside. The system that put you here, and the system that might correct the error, are not the same system. They operate at different speeds, respond to different pressures. The legal mechanism moves in months and years. You exist in 90-minute intervals between counts. You write the letter. Hand on the cutting board desk. fluorescent light blinking above, corridor noise indifferent outside the bars. And in the writing of it, you understand something harder. The people around you are not what you expected. You arrived with an assumption, not spoken, not even fully conscious, that a maximum security prison would be populated by people who were obviously, visibly, irreducibly dangerous. Some are. But most carry biographies built from a specific intersection of poverty, limited options, catastrophic decisions, and a legal system that processes poor defendants very differently than everyone else. The United States incarcerates a higher percentage of its population than any country on earth. That is not an accident. It is not primarily a reflection of crime rates. You are inside that reality now, rather than passing it as a statistic. The distinction is enormous. 6 weeks in, a letter arrives. Your attorney has found an inconsistency in the processing. Not proof, not the kind that opens doors, but a thread. Something that, pulled carefully, might eventually unravel enough to be heard. Might. Eventually. You read those 2 words 3 times. You fold the letter. You put it under the mattress. You lie back and stare at the ceiling that is 7 feet above you and has not changed. The fluorescent light blinks once. Settles. Somewhere down the corridor, someone laughs. A genuine laugh. And the strangeness of a genuine laugh in this place, that it exists here at all, that someone found something worth laughing at inside these dimensions, is something you still haven't adjusted to. Life continues inside maximum security the way life continues anywhere. Not because the conditions are livable in any straightforward sense, but because human beings continue, regardless. Because continuation is what human beings do. You will continue. The thread will be pulled. Or it won't. Not yet. The months will move in counts, in meals, in the hum that never stops. You'll learn rules nobody wrote down. You'll make calculations about trust and silence, and distance you never imagined needing to make. You'll call people whose voices sound increasingly like they're calling from a different world. Because they are. And somewhere in a courthouse you are not in, paper is moving. This is what nobody tells you about wrongful incarceration. Not in the news stories. Not in the documentaries made after the exoneration. Not in the interviews where everyone talks about resilience and justice finally served. They don't tell you about week 6, when the best word in the letter is might. They don't tell you about the fluorescent light that blinks and settles. They don't tell you about learning to find a genuine laugh remarkable. They tell you about the day the door opened. They skip everything that happened while it was still closed. You are still in that part. If this made you think about systems you've never had to think about before, what it means to be inside something that moves at a completely different speed than the truth, drop your thoughts below. The next story is already waiting.